Hello. Marcy Bent from Think Premium JA in association with IslandNet. And are you thinking of having a cloud voice solution for your office? Have you ever considered having, let's say, phone calls using the internet instead of traditional phone lines? If that's you, awesome. Stick around. Here are some things that your business will need to consider if you're thinking about using a voice solution for your business. For one, your business will need to start thinking about cabling. And what I mean by cabling, I'm not talking about the phone lines, I'm talking about Ethernet cables. You know, the internet cables? Instead of the ones that are just being plugged into your laptop or your desktop, you're now going to need to have you're going to need to also have an Ethernet cable going into that phone line. And in order for that to happen, you need the cabling to already exist. Even if the company is setting up the internet at your location, if they don't already have they're setting up the phones at your location. If they don't have existing cable lines there, like in your telco room, for example, you're going to have to know get that set up. And where telco room is the room where you have all your servers, your IPPX, all your phone lines, etc. All of those just terminate in that area. So that's your telco room. I mean, many large companies should have it. You should. Emphasis on should. If you don't have your cables in place leading from your telco room to wherever it is in the building, you're not going to need cabling. So if it's a case where like it's an existing building and you already have indoor cabling present, you don't need to worry. It's not going to be that bad. You'd really at most probably be paying for some additional lines. But like it's really just to extend. I mean, for us, we have pretty competitive packages where setting up the cables are concerned. But if it's a case where the trunking, which would be like the PV pipe that they'd use to put in the trunking that would connect it to outside, for example, if that doesn't exist, I will literally have to set it up from scratch. Like there was nothing there. Like let's say you have a warehouse that you're converting into an office and obviously would never add any Ethernet cables, or it's a brand new building. So obviously they're not going to have any Ethernet cables. You're now going to have to start thinking about trunking. And that's going to be like the PV pipes that you put in Ethernet cables in and connecting it to the relevant access points and such outside so that you can pick up internet inside, right? So because it's going to need to be connected to an outdoor access point, or and modem, and to the different devices. And if let's say it's a big warehouse and it's going to be like the one handset's going to be far away from where the telco room is, the cable has to extend from where the telco room is to where the handset's going to be placed. If that's beyond 75 feet, that's going to come at a cost. Even if it is under 75 feet, it's going to come at a cost, because guess what? We have to buy the material. So cabling is something that you need to think of. Another thing, and this goes without saying, you need to have reliable internet. Yes, because guess what? If you're using voice over internet, if there's no internet, you can't have calls. So you need to have reliable internet. And I would recommend, even if let's say you have an existing provider, let's say you have company, right? And you have with company everything. If you're going to get a cloud voice solution, you want to have a backup provider. And by right, you really ought to have like a separate internet for the voice, like a backup just in case, because if there's no internet, it's not going to work. And if the internet is low, which outside of IslandNet, many companies outside of IslandNet, you get internet that you pay for roughly 30% of the time. So if you're not happy with the internet provider, I'm just saying, IslandNet gives you the internet that you pay for 80 to 99% of the time. Many companies don't do that, right? And if you're in that situation, you really want to have a redundant internet connection, preferably with a company like IslandNet that gives you the internet you pay for 80 to 99% of the time, right? Because if the internet is spotty, let's say the internet drops or it is low that day, your calls are going to be shaky. The calls are not going to be clear. One person might hear the other person, but the other person might not hear them. You're going to miss calls. The calls are going to drop randomly. The voice, like the sound of the call, is going to be very low, or you're going to hear the frying, like the static. Yeah, like you'll hear all of that. You probably won't even hear the dial tone. Like these things are going to affect the performance of the call. Now, I'm not saying any company can't have issues, but I'm saying that if you're going to implement a voice solution, you have to have reliable, redundant internet dedicated for that solution. I would also strongly recommend another thing. If you're going to have a cloud voice solution, you need to have a firewall to prioritize the voice going to those calls. Because if you don't have something prioritizing the voice, you're literally going to have the equivalent of an all you can eat buffet without people forming lines. Imagine you going to an all you can eat buffet, food's on the table, and everybody just bomb rushing the table at the same time. Absolutely chaos. Some people are going to get, some people are going to get too much, some people are just going to get miserable, and some people are going to get nothing, and some people are going to get trampled. And you're just going to have a big mess. That's pretty much what's going to happen with your internet connection if you don't have like bandwidth prioritization, especially if you're putting in a cloud voice solution, which IslandNet does that. So, not to worry if you don't have it. We can help you. You also want to have reliable IP handsets because obviously that's what you're going to use to make the calls, right? So yeah. And the beauty as well with like a managed firewall too, you can have a soft phone application where you can implement that and you can turn your desktop into a handset. We actually do that for several of our clients. We've worked with pretty much all of the commercial banks, and we do that for them. So you know that you go to like the banks and you don't really see them with a phone at their desk. You see them with a laptop and a handset, like the little headphone thingy. Yeah, headphone things. The headphones. Sorry. Yeah, you get the idea. So you can do that. That's fine. Or you can put the soft phone feature on your tablet and turn your tablet into a handset, or obviously your phone, but you can do that with your phone as well. And you can make calls over the internet at very, very competitive rates because we offer a very competitive flat rate for our customers. So that's something you can benefit from. Another thing that you can look forward to as well is the fact that with your handsets, because you can use a soft phone feature, it's cloud based, you can pretty much put a handset anywhere in the world. All it needs to be is configured. You can literally drop a handset anywhere in the world and it will work because it's over the internet. So that's something to bear in mind. Another thing that you'll need to consider if you are going to if you're going to go the route of having cloud voice, you need to start considering how many handsets you need and the features that you want. The features that you want will determine whether or not it's best for you to just get your own PBX, your own IP PBX, or if it's best to work with a company like IslandNet where we can be your PBX. We just give you the handsets and we will literally just be your PBX because we'll have our PBX from our end, right? So we can do that for you as well. It's going to be a lot more cost effective. But if you want to invest in having your own physical machine, let's say to get features like recording your calls, call whispering, the IVR, the automated voice recording where you can route it to the different extensions, fax over email, voicemail over email. What are some other features? Call barring, call transfer, all of that. Like depending on the features that you want, you might want to think about getting your own IPPBX. Especially like if you want to do like certain high level features like I don't know, like having the handset be able to do video conferencing, because you have some handsets that have the screens that can actually allow you to video conference and see the other person through the handset. You might want to think about getting your own PBX. But many persons don't necessarily need it, especially if you're a growing company, but you can think about it depending on your needs, especially if you have a lot of users. If you have a lot of users, let's say you have like about 20 users, it might make sense to have your own PBX because that's a lot of people. But if it's a case where it's like maybe like 6 people, you probably don't need your own PBX. You probably don't, depending on what you want. If you want to do certain features, then yeah, you really ought to have it, especially if you want to record the calls and have it inside your office. You want to have the recording inside your office and have control over that, and you want to add extensions whenever you're ready and all that thing there, then yeah, you really should have your own PBX. But that's just it right there. Another thing that you need to think about as well is the power over Ethernet switch, or the PoE switch, because in order for the phone to work, the IP handset, it has to have a switch to pick up the power from the internet for it to work. So it's usually connected to the PBX, or it can be connected to the IP handset. So it depends on how many ports you need. That will determine how many or how big the PoE switch needs to be. So if the handsets are going to be directly connected to the PoE switch, which can happen, that would determine how big the switch needs to be. So you can get it in, this PoE switch can come in 5, I think 15, 35 or something like that. I think it's multiples at 10. I could be wrong, but you're going to need that. um so yeah, that's pretty much about it. And of course, another thing that you want to think about as well with your cloud voice solution, you might really want to have somebody monitoring that consistently. So, so a cybersecurity package where you have monitoring and detection can really be helpful to detect if there are any issues on the network that can affect the voice solution in any way, shape, or form. Like whether it's a Trojan, whether it's a network outage, whatever it is, that would be something that you want to think about. Another thing as well that you want to bear in mind if you're thinking of a cloud voice solution, which, by the way, all of the things I mentioned earlier, IslandNet covers that. So if you need any of those things when we're setting up your cloud-based solution, you don't even have to worry about it. We'll factor it in the cost and give you a nice competitive rate. We'll totally help you with that. DM me to learn more. Another thing that you want to think about with your cloud voice solution is you're gonna need power. You're gonna need electricity. Right? And Jamaica has an electricity issue. Like there are many places in Jamaica that don't have reliable electricity. And like in Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, for the most part, they have reliable power. But there are many other places island wide, yeah, and there are parts of St. James like Mobile too, that will have like reliable power. But like outside, especially like you're outside of the main areas, like you're outside of the main road, or outside like the main cities, many places don't have reliable electricity. So it's not going to be practical to do a cloud voice solution for them because you need reliable power. Obviously for the power over Ethernet to work. And unlike your phone line, like you see the traditional phone line them, although even the main telecoms providers are phasing them out now because it's outdated. Like people don't really want to mess with the T1 cables anymore. Like nobody got time for that. Like you don't really see them even upgrade that. If the power goes on, you can still make calls. With the traditional phone lines, you can still make calls. Power over Ethernet ones though, no. Voice over internet, no power, no calls. It's just not possible. So an example like a basic voice over internet would be like yesterday, if you had like the IP, the handset that you buy in the pharmacy, if you can plug it into the back of your modem, voice over IP. If that helps. The ones that you don't have to plug into the back, not voice over IP. If that helps. But it needs internet to work. So if let's say the power gone, obviously your modem not going to work. So obviously you're not going to have the internet to make the calls. That because the phone is being powered by the internet. That's a basic explanation. But like the ones that you can buy from the pharmacy, they would have the power adapter that you can plug into the wall. So you're seeing a difference where a company is concerned, where it doesn't have the plug that you plug it into a wall. It literally just has the Ethernet port, and it's plugged into whatever modem or switch is in the telecoms room for you to be able to get. It's plugged into the power over Ethernet switch. Yeah, switch, same thing. That would be in your telecom room, if that helps. All right, so you need to bear that in mind. Another thing that you would need to bear in mind with your voice solution is, I said how many handsets you need, right? You're going to need to bear that in mind. I'm not listing this in any particular order, so this is just me off the top of my head. So if I miss something, you can just comment down below and you can let me know. I'd really appreciate it. But another thing that you'd want to bear in mind is how many extensions you need. Because if you're using SIP trunks, which you need SIP trunks. Yeah, that's what I want, SIP trunks. So you're gonna need SIP trunks because that's what's gonna allow you to have the lines. You don't have actual physical phone lines with voice over internet. You use SIP trunks, so you have virtual phone lines. So in order for it to work, you need virtual phone lines. So if you're going to do a voice over internet solution, you need to start thinking about how many lines you need. So each SIP trunk would represent a group of phone lines. So you can have a lead number, yes, and you can have it being routed to like 100 different extensions, but you would need a SIP trunk. So depending on how many extensions you want or how many lines you want, that would determine how many SIP trunks you would need. So yeah, cause like for example, the IP handsets, many of them like the Grand Stream handsets, which we would have a lot of experience with, because that's what we really focus on. You can have up to two lines. Some, as a matter of fact, you can. The minimum is two. Yeah, you can have a minimum of two lines on an IP handset with the Grand Stream ones. Some have like four. Some have a lot of lines. So it really all depends. You now need to know how many lines you need to determine whether or not that solution is best for you. And also another thing to bear in mind as well is, do you have existing landline numbers that you need to port over? Because if you have existing landline numbers that you need to port over, that might determine whether or not you need a physical PBX as well. Because if you're going to use existing phone lines, the phone cables, the T1 cables have to go somewhere for it to be added to your PBX solution. So if you have existing physical T1 or traditional phone lines, then you might really want to think about a PBX. And not all PBX actually have a physical handset that you put here. Many of them can just be placed in a telco room and it looks almost like a modem or a switch. Some of them can be mounted on your wall. See, it can be discreet. It doesn't have to take up a lot of space, because many of the times it's going to be in your telecommunications room anyway, or where your server room is, or whatever you call it. Right? So I do hope this helps. I shared several things. You get to see my techie side now. Isn't that great? You see my techie side now. Awesome. Anyway, if this really helps you, comment down below with this statement: I am ready to use voice over internet in my business. And again, if this video added value to you, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day, and remember to DM me if any of this is interesting and you need this for your business. And remember to have a wonderful day, and never stop dreaming. Bye bye.